What is the biggest mistake you made when you started?
Probably not trusting my gut enough, right? Like, I think there is something that you just know. There is no success, literally, without failure.
Do you remember when you first made like a cold call or a sale, the feeling? How did you overcome the fear of what if this person doesn't like this?
I remember just thinking that my biggest challenge is getting the product into their hands.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Dare to Be Fearless. Before I get into this episode, I want to encourage you to check out Chief Swag Officer, which is my newest e-commerce business. I'm wearing a Chief Swag Officer hoodie today, and I've also got some customized microphone covers on the table. So head to the show notes to get a coupon code to use for your first purchase at chiefswagofficer.com. And before I introduce today's guests, make sure to follow me on social media at Alexa_Curtis, as well as the podcast, which is at Dare to Be Fearless. So many of you may have seen in October when I was asked to speak at Harvard for their Young Woman Business Conference. And I have to say, it was probably the most stellar lineup of women that I met. One in particular today, Rosie Jane Johnston, who is the founder of By Rosie Jane. Coolest company ever.
Aww.
Australianite, now LA. Girl, I'm like, where do we even begin? Because you were a makeup artist for how many years? 19?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I dropped out of high school. So I'm like a high school dropout. I
Love.
left in year 11.
Okay.
And my mom was like, look, you don't have to like go to college, but you can't just sit on your ass, basically. Mm-hmm. So she was like, you've got to find something to do. I had done makeup in the school play. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. Enrolled in makeup school. So whatever age that is, 17, 18.
Okay.
Yeah, right around there. And never really looked back. And now I'm 48.
But you look great. You look so good. We were just talking about menopause. I'm like, I'm trying to learn about this. Like,
I know. I feel like the menopause thing is like happening. It's like I'm looking fine, and then you're going to see me in like 3 years, and I'm going to have aged like 30 years.
No, I feel like anyone I've ever talked to who's either involved in makeup and or skincare, you literally don't age. Oh, I mean, if you had told me you were even in your late 40s, I would have been like, you literally look like mid 30s. And you have 3 kids, correct?
I do have 3 children, yeah. They're older though. I have an 8-year-old is my youngest, 14 and 18, or 17, almost 18.
Okay.
Scary as,
it's
a lot.
High school, college?
I know, college, yes. My eldest daughter, she is looking at colleges. That's what the first fragrance is named after. Layla is after her. Okay. So yeah, it's weird. And then I still have an 8-year-old, so I'm still like little mom to a boy is my youngest, and they need mums more than ever. So it is. I have these 3 separate kind of human beings that need every different part of me. It's an interesting spread.
I can't even imagine being a parent in this day and age because of social media. And like I'm 27 and I didn't even grow up with the access these kids have, but I see it with my nephews and I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's really scary. You know, it's like on one side, because I love social media as a businesswoman in the world that we live in now, in the time that we live in, the way that you can talk to your community, be involved, right? People can see into the, in my head, in my thoughts of how I develop a fragrance, do any of those things. On that side, I absolutely love it. But watching my 18-year-old, 13-year-old daughters, it's the addiction that I'm most worried about. Like the content, fine. I think if you have a good head on your shoulders, you've got, you can understand and kind of figure out what's real and not, but it's scary. I mean, they just are like glued.
And then what I've noticed too with him is like once you turn it off, they become like a total nutcase. Yeah. That's a whole other, I'll have you back on for another day from another one. But like literally before we talk about entrepreneurship, this is perfume.
Yes.
So what are you wearing? I mean, are you wearing By Rosie Jane right now? And what will make a woman feel the most sexiest? Which flavor?
Okay, so I am actually road testing a brand new fragrance today. Okay. I sprayed it on in the car. This won't come out until later this year. But when I'm working on a fragrance, I will have it for about 6 or 7 months where I'm like, I think this is it. And then I wear it. And then so today is unnamed. Okay. Yeah, I have a name for it, but that's what I'm wearing today.
I love that you started this on your own because I think a lot of people are incredibly intimidated to become entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And or think they need a co-founder.
Yes.
So 19 years of makeup, and then all of a sudden you start, what is it, like making perfume in your kitchen? How does this begin?
Yeah. I mean, I wore it as a makeup artist. I wanted a signature calling card. So when I would turn up and do people's makeup, they would be like, oh, can you book that makeup artist that smells so amazing? That's how the whole idea came about, and I never thought of it being a business for me. And then a girlfriend of mine was like, you should make this fragrance. A lot of people ask you for it. And I was like, maybe. So it was literally kind of like that. And then, I was giving it to friends and family. And then had my first child. And I started to realize, I don't know what the hell I'm handing out to people. Like I knew what the notes were, pear, jasmine, fresh cut grass. And I was like, my God, you can't really find out the ingredients in fragrance. Like that was a sort of light bulb moment for me. And then, yeah, it started from there. I launched in one tiny door in LA on Larchmont. And I literally started one store at a time, just cold calling. Hey, I have a fragrance. Can I send you a sample? It's so old school. I think it would be much scarier now to launch a business than when I did.
And it was what year? 20?
Oh, God. 2007 is when I probably first mixed that fragrance, launched officially as in 2010.
Do you remember when you first made like a cold call or a sale, the feeling? How did you overcome the fear of what if this person doesn't like this?
I remember just thinking that my biggest challenge is getting the product into their hands. I was like, people ask me for this fragrance all the time. They stop me on the street. If I can just get them a sample, I think that they'll love it. That was I just was like, why wouldn't they? Everyone loves this fragrance. So I found a list of stores. Like I would go on to other brands, not in beauty, but like clothing or hair care or like some sort of gift and they would list all their retailers, like little mom and pop stores. And I would just get the list and everyone had a phone then. So I would just call and be like, oh, hi, I was wondering if I could speak to your buyer. In those days, they would guard buyers like they were the most, like the president of the United States, right? You weren't allowed to know their name. They'd be like, well, I can pass on a message.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I would just keep calling until hopefully I got the person on the phone.
This was like the days when Fashion Week was a thing.
Yeah.
2000, yeah, and Fashion Week was like a thing. I started my blog when I was 12, so I was going to Fashion Week from cold emailing people when I was 14, 15. People I don't even go anymore because I'm like, I've seen it when it was the buyer's only front row, the Bergdorfs. I'm literally aging myself and I'm only 27. But there was this sexiness about this industry that I don't think exists anymore because it's very easy in theory for someone to just go viral or break into it.
Do I remember, so we did the biggest sort of break for us at By Rosie Jane was when we did a trunk show at Henry Bendel's. It's not even around anymore. But in order to get that trunk show, you had to like line up and you had to like basically give it the best pitch of your life to the buyer of Henry Bendel's. Yeah. And I remember cold calling from Australia because I was still living there. I would stay up until 3:00 in the morning to wait for it to be the right time in New York. And I would call. And if I got the voicemail, I would hang up. Yeah. And then I would wait and I'd call. And I got the buyer on the phone. And I was like, hi, I'd really love to send you some samples, blah, 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 blah. I live in Australia. I'm also going to be out there in 2 weeks and I'd love to set up a meeting. That was my whole thing. And I ended up getting a meeting with Henry Bendel's buyer and Barney's. It was the craziest thing. I did not go into Barney's, but I got the trunk show at Henry Bendel's.
Do you think it was luck? Or what do you think at that point?
I think it's always a little bit of luck, but the tenacity and you just got to be a baller. Yeah. And you just got to think that's why I always think that entrepreneurs are really born and not made. It has to be something within you that's just like, I'm not going to roll over. I'm not going to take no. You'll change and edit and be like, okay, you know what, that didn't work and I'm going to make some changes and some shifts in this. But there's something that you're just like, I don't know if I can swear. Can I
swear away?
I was like, my whole thing is like, fuck it. I'm just going to do it anyway. So that has to be within you. And then, so.
It's also, I'm super excited to have you on regardless, but I also think it's very cool because we were talking before we started about how Bethany Frankel posted you very organically. You guys didn't post, pay her or have a collab with her. But I think it's such an interesting time because we're talking about this woman I think she's in her 50s.
I love her.
She comes from this background in media, and it's so interesting how she almost has more pull that you guys sold out because of this post versus perhaps you could have worked with another influencer, younger woman, but she's got this engaged niche audience, and
I think it's real. People want something real, right? Like now, even the day of the influencer is starting to lose like what it used to, because people know. I could ring up probably any influencer and be like, I want to pay you 50 grand to post about my product that you love. There's nothing genuine in that.
No.
So even with the influencers and the celebrities that we do work with, and Bethany Frankel was completely out of the blue. Like our digital manager texts us the TikTok or in the morning, and we were all like, what the fuck is going on? I mean, I can't tell you, I'm so obsessed with her and I follow her and I didn't even see it. But we work with people who have genuinely found and loved by Rosie Jane, and then maybe we'll reach out and be like, hey, we would love to talk to you more about it. Could we do some sort of collaboration? Because that realness and that authenticity is what people crave.
Yeah. I want to know how that process works. I actually think that would be very interesting. So, for example, this TikTok comes out, right?
Yeah.
And you said you sold out. But By Rosie Jane is in tons of stores, from like Sephora to Nordstrom, you guys are in.
Yeah.
So as a founder, and it's a mature brand. I mean, this wasn't started a day ago.
No.
What is that process like? And what does that even mean when you're a founder in this space and it like sells out? What happens?
I mean, for us, it was like, it depends. So she, I think, particularly was talking about like, hey, I found it on Amazon. I think that's how it came about. So when you have your third-party retailers, they're going to sell out. You can't do anything in the moment. So it all falls back on your .com. I mean, luckily for us, we produce everything in-house, so we were fine. But it sold out Amazon. It sold out Nordstrom. Sephora was sold out of the travel sprays. We were like, oh, what's going on? It was amazing. But I think also you just have to sort of you can never be prepared for something like that, right? But you have to hopefully get it back in stock quite quickly.
And how does that work?
I mean, you email your stores and you're like, hey, this just happened, FYI, kind of flag it for them so that they already are processing an order right behind it, even before it sells out, so that they know, and then they're sort of, maybe it will be out of stock for like 3 or 4 days, maybe a week. But there's also something wonderful about something that's out of stock. If it's out of stock,
scarcity.
That's it, right? It's people are excited by it, and then they're looking for it. They can add themselves to a list, a wait list, or anything like that. You just don't want to make it happen too long.
All right, so take me back to, so you start this, and you're still doing makeup.
Yep.
You're living in Australia still.
Yes.
Cold calling places.
Yeah.
So you get Bendel's, then you get Bergdorf's. For those who are also like Gossip Girl fans, like I am, and OG, we're talking like Blake Lively days, if we're even allowed to talk about Blake nowadays.
I know.
Oh God. But those are like the Gossip Girl days.
Yeah.
So what happens? You're in Bendel's and you're doing makeup. How are you funding this on your own?
Because I didn't have more than, I think we had one product we had at that time. It was Layla Lou. So it's so crazy. When I think back, I don't even know how I fully funded it. It was just, we would do everything as money would allow. That we had no marketing plan. I had no sales plan. I just thought, okay, if I can make $1,000 in sales, this week or this month, we'll be able to like make more bottles, right? I was hand filling them. We were hand stickering. We didn't have exterior packaging except for a bottle and a sticker with a swing tag on it because we couldn't afford the production. So it was so unplanned. I think that is how I was able to survive. Now when you go into it with and sensibly probably, with a much bigger plan, you have budgets and you have what you have to hit in order to do this. I had no plan other than get it into one store, get it into 2 stores. Oh, great. They kind of love it. Like that was sort of the momentum of it. I didn't have like a 5-year plan or even a year plan.
Would you say that sense of being naive enabled you to grow and become a more not only mature but successful founder versus if you were like, this is the 5-year and 10-year plan, and if we don't make $10 million, the XYZ?
Yeah. I don't know if it made me more like successful. I think that everyone has their own road to success, and I think that there are so many different kinds of ways of running a business. I think for me, that sort of inexperience let me... I was a bit more free. I wasn't so like pressured. There's so much pressure even now to grow. And you're like, which is, bring on investors, do this, do that, and this idea that growing at anything under, triple digits is considered just, well, you're basically standing still, is just ridiculous because you've just got a few companies at the top that are really dominating that narrative. So I just think it allowed me to really kind of pace myself, learn a lot because I was a high school dropout. I didn't know anything about business.
Me too. I did. The fact that we both spoke at Harvard and both dropped out of high school, what the fuck is this?
Oh my God. That was the thing that I wanted to like say on the stage. Like, I was like, oh, are they going to be like, get off the stage?
No.
I was like, so I didn't go to college. Yeah. I actually left school in year 11.
Wait, hold on. But how did you, I kind of like, I mean, I finished online, but I wouldn't say I should have, like, it was like an unethical program.
I just out.
But your parents, your family.
No, they were I came of a pretty eclectic, eccentric family.
One of these.
No one in my family, only one member of my family went to college.
Wow.
I think only, I'm going to say my daughter Layla and maybe my brother are the only two to finish high school.
Okay.
My dad was a restaurateur. He left, he was like 16 when he left school. But in those days, it was sort of the norm. Maybe my mum finished high school. I don't even know. It wasn't that crazy. But no, we are not an academic family, but we're a very creative and passionate family.
Love that for you. I'm the same way. I literally just came from speaking at a high school, and I literally said to the kids, and I also feel guilty being like, I dropped out of high school, and like it's not cool to do.
Yeah, you don't want to like project,
no.
Like, yay, do it. But
it is so classic entrepreneur. That's why they're like college dropout, etc. Yeah. I want to go back to something you just said about entrepreneurs being born into it, or
not made.
Not made. Where does your philosophy come from on that? And do you think it has to do with like nature versus nurture, your upbringing?
I think it's just I think that there's both, right? So I think it's what you're exposed to, right? The amount of belief you're given that anything is possible. And then I think it comes from how much drive you have to make anything possible and to sort of believe that something can be bigger and better than maybe what's in front of you. And I think that it's wonderful to be either. That's the whole thing. I'm like, if we were all entrepreneurs, the world would be screwed, right?
Sure.
It's like, but I think it's like actors to me, I think are always like mini entrepreneurs, right? They work for themselves, they are marketing themselves. And in those beginning stages, it's only a few that get 50,000 slammed doors that just keep going and going and going. And then we see them as big Hollywood celebrities, but the backstory is miserable. So it has to be something I think that's just within you. You just got to be like bullheaded almost, where you're like, I know it's bad and you have really low days, but I'm just going to keep on going because I believe in what I'm saying. And I can't imagine doing anything else. That's the hardest thing, I think.
I think that's why they say like overnight successes usually take 10 years. Because
is there ever? I don't know one story of overnight success unless it's like a lottery. I mean, even then, I don't. No. It's everything takes work, and even if you get the luck in the beginning, you'll pay for it at the end, right? I feel like it's always there. You always are going to have to put in the hours and pay your dues for wherever you are.
So, at what point did you decide, like, okay, this can become a real brand? You're in 2 stores. It was Bendel's and Henry.
No, I mean, Bendel's, we weren't even in there. It was just a trunk show. So
you
just go and do a weekend. And you're like, hi, do you want to sell my perfume? I mean, you're literally like selling your wares.
Yeah, like farmer's market.
Yeah. And in Bendel's, people are like, no, I don't want that. I'm here to buy the goddamn Bendel's candle.
Was it just you at the trunk show?
Yeah.
Just you?
It was me. And then one year I did it with one of my closest girlfriends, who I'm still friends with now. She was a producer. She had moved to New York, and I was like, will you come do this with me? She was like, yeah, I'll take the day off of work. And we wore like blue jeans and white T-shirts because that was, we were like the casual brand. And we got into Bendel's and they were like, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to wear denim on the floor. So we had to go and buy from like Marshalls. Yeah. Like she wore like a pencil skirt. I wore like these like shitty black slacks, not representing by Rosie Jane at all. But yeah, it was me and her. But that was it.
Bendel's had clothes though, right? Why didn't you just buy them there?
Oh yeah, because one item of clothing was like $10,000.
I knew you were going to say this. I just wanted to confirm that you weren't like, I don't like the clothing, so I went to Marshalls.
Oh my God, no, it was so expensive. And I was sleeping on her couch in her studio apartment. And so, yeah, it was crazy.
Then what happened?
Then we just started to really kind of get this wonderful organic following. We had gotten a lot of independent stores, and probably like 25 at that point. We went into, I think it was anthropology was our first kind of big break.
I could see this for them.
And it was like, but they'd merchandise it when we went in bowls because we didn't have packaging. It was just bottles, these little roll-on bottles. We didn't have eau de parfum. So we launched in there, and then there was just momentum. But I don't ever remember the sort of watershed moment was Sephora for us, which was 2018. So from 2010, essentially, so for 8 years, it was a slog.
But
and
it's paying
still now.
But it's paying your bills.
Yes.
Early on in that.
I mean, I was still doing makeup.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was pretty much a full-time makeup artist, and Rosie Jane was my side hustle. So I was doing makeup 5 days a week. I was like a celebrity makeup artist. So I would do red carpet.
In LA.
In LA. And I had like my amazing clients. And I ended up being more of a groomer than a makeup artist towards the end.
It sounds like a pimp. What does that mean?
No, it does. It sounds like a fluffer, like
I'm
pre-porn.
a groomer for Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh my God. No, groomer is for men. So it's different.
I don't know anything about makeup.
My God. Yeah, but I know, in old porn days, makeup artists, or there were these people that come on and they're called fluffers.
Okay.
And they would get everybody excited.
Of what?
Before the show.
Oh, woohoo!
So, but I was
just
not
to
a fluffer.
clarify, you were not.
I was not a fluffer. I was a
not
groomer.
fluffer. Groomer,
so
not a fluffer.
makeup and hair for mainly men.
Interesting.
But yeah, I did it for, right up until I stopped doing it. But that paid all my bills. My husband is now he's a landscape designer and amazing, but then he was mowing lawns. We had like a household income of like $3,000.
Great.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in 2018, though, that $3,000 would have gone even further than it would have gone.
Oh my God, I had a great apartment in Hollywood. We had a great apartment. Dude, I don't know. It was so crazy.
Times are different.
Yeah.
Can you say any of the celebrities whose hair you've groomed? Or
Yeah. I worked with John Mayer forever. He was my favorite. Bryan Cranston. God, I did so many. Gary Oldman. Tons.
So cool.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was the best job. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I did girls and guys, but it just sort of, I had much more of a rapport with men. I just don't think I was a very good makeup artist.
Really?
I think it was okay for women. And I definitely had my clients that I would like nail them. That sounded crazy. I would especially with,
should we start like an OnlyFans? I feel like we should start an OnlyFans.
I never did that with with any of my male clients. But with the girls that I did, I got their look down. I just knew it. It was always like the better version of themselves. But the true artist that they're artists, dude, that just wasn't who I just couldn't do it. So I think that's why I worked better with men, because they didn't need a lot. It was just hair and making their skin look kind of dewy and good.
I never see enough about a day in the life or what it's actually like to be a celebrity makeup artist. What is something that someone wouldn't actually know about that form of the industry?
Gosh. I think now because of social media, you can see there are so many incredible makeup artists, right, that have also got all these amazing makeup lines. I think it's very entrepreneurial. You are selling yourself all the time. You're showing up and I think the relationship that you have with your clients is very personal because you're in their space. You're touching them, your hair, you're there for the best of times and you're there for the worst of times. So you really become like close and like a confidant.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful. I always loved that role and that job. And when I stopped doing it, it was more out of the fact that I felt like I was taking up space when my head was somewhere else. You have this incredible opportunity to work with these really like brilliant artists and musicians and you've got like a musician like strumming, like working on their song right next to you. And I'm thinking, I've got to fucking get home. Yeah. I've got 34 emails to answer. And at that moment I was like, I need to give this up to the universe. Someone else should be here that loves it more than me, because I just didn't feel right.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That seems like it could be also a bit scary. But now that you're talking about, your career as a makeup artist, it makes sense to me that you pursued By Rosie Jane as a solo founder.
Yeah.
In this day and age, though, I think in this tech world.
Yeah.
And I ended up relocating for a while from LA to Austin during COVID, and I was around, these serial younger founders, especially in the CPG space, and they're making so much money. And it's very common with, you go through a YC program or et cetera, and they want you to have a co-founder.
Yeah.
So always being solo, aside from now you obviously have a team, but building the business on your own, anything you would have done differently? Are you glad you didn't have a co-founder?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, no. The nice thing about having a co-founder is to have that bounce off, right? That's the hardest thing about being a sole founder. And I'm founder, CEO, CFO. I'm really everything. We're still a really small team.
How big?
We're 10
That's big.
people, but we have manufacturing included in that. So we fill and produce all of our own product. Okay. So in our core team, we're 5. So but that's what I think, my husband has a partner in his work, and I see this, they're able to bounce ideas off of each other and be like, hey, do you want to do this? Or you take that and I'll take that. When you're the only person, you carry the entire load. Yeah. And you kind of have to have the good and the bad on each shoulder. And you're like, should I do this product? I'm like, that's the toughest thing. So, but now, I have an amazing GM that I call her my business therapist, because I call her and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do today, blah, blah, blah. This is happening, that's happening. So it's hard, but it suits my personality well.
That's how I feel. Who do you call then, or who mentors you, or / how do you find a mentor?
So for me, I think probably one of the most important mentors for me. My parents were entrepreneurs, so that really helped a lot. But honestly, probably later in life, my journey, when I found Cal, who I work with now, who's our GM, she started just as a very small consultant helping me with paid ads. But she had been very high up at many companies and really understood that corporate world. I would call her with every single question. And I think it's important to have somebody like that really knows the ins and outs. She's very analytical. She's very data-driven. And I'm more creative and no, I know the data is telling me this, but I'm doing it anyway. Because I feel like sometimes too much data kills creativity.
That makes me feel better, because I pretty early on with Chief Swag, which is my e-commerce company, I hired a consultant that I had met, and I paid him and have paid him a significantly high amount of money. However, there's so many things I have no idea what I'm doing, especially with the spreadsheets and the money. And do you feel like as a founder you can't know everything?
No. And even now, I feel like we've just had a really solid budget probably for the last 2 or 3 years, right? So, and it's overwhelming to me. Sometimes I'm like, I cannot look at it, because what I want to create and what I want to do, which is all emotionally driven and environmentally driven for me, what am I being inspired by around me? I can't look at the numbers all the time. Yeah. I think every successful entrepreneur will always say, you cannot know everything, but bring in the people who do. Yeah. And that's what you want. You want a meeting of incredible minds.
What is the biggest mistake you made when you started By Rosie Jane early on in your entrepreneurial days?
Probably not trusting my gut enough, right? I think there is something that you just know 100%, but if enough people are like, that's ridiculous, don't do it. And you're like, all right, fine, God, I must be the only and you know that there's something you feel really strongly about. And then you see someone else do it and it becomes something, and you're like, I knew I should have done it. Why didn't I just go with it? So I think for me, it's it's doubting myself in particular moments when I'm like, dude, I know. And you don't know, it's strange. It's not every idea and everything that I've done has been successful, but always the ones that I don't do, I'm like, I should have just done it. It's just, that's my biggest regret.
I think the outside noise as a business owner, and especially as you become more successful, is very hard, because you don't know everything. That's what I've realized. So then when you try and ask someone, especially you don't know anything, and you ask 2 different people, and then you're more confused. Yes. I've had that. And it's like, oh God. So then you really have to like dial into to your gut intuition.
And otherwise you're always, I feel like, especially if you're doing something that no one has really done before, if you don't do it and you just don't go for it, if you truly believe it's something wonderful and that you love and that someone else is going to love and all those things, then you're always just following trend.
How did you get into Sephora? What was that process?
They reached out to me. It was really crazy. So because we were the original clean fragrance, so during that whole process when I was handing it out to my friends and I was like, shit, I don't know what this is, that's when I was like, okay, you know what? I rang a fragrance house and I was like, I have a perfume that I've already created, but I don't know what the ingredients are other than I can tell you the notes, right? I can tell you that it was pear and jasmine and fresh cut grass and blah, 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 blah.
Fresh cut grass.
I know, right?
How
So
interesting.
crazy. But I was like, I have these bottles that are like liquid notes and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what goes into each one of those. I mean, it's not like there's like grass in there, right? So that sort of opened it up. I went to them and I said, can you help me create the fragrance that smells like this? So I know what the ingredients is, but doesn't have any of these things that I've been reading about. And they were like, let's try. And that's sort of how it kind of opened up. So we were the original clean fragrance. And then I think Sephora had huge success with clean and like non-toxic beauty. And they were jumping into fragrance in 2018. And we were just one of the lucky 6.
You have incredible skin, just like overall aesthetic.
Oh, thank you.
What is your routine?
Oh gosh. You know, I rotate like a bunch of different things, but I love I always forget it, Pure Botanicals. Oh my God, you know what actually is so crazy and it's brand new is YSE. It's Molly Sims' line. They have an under eye brightening serum.
Ooh, all right.
Oh my God, it's
really
amazing. Yes.
Okay.
But it's simple. I would call myself a lazy groomer.
Okay.
So I wash my face at night. I use nothing drying because I'm menopausal. God damn it. It's every time I say that I'm like, what the fuck?
You're so hot.
So I use like a cleansing oil.
Yeah.
I use retinol. And the other thing that I've done just in the last year is I do a regular facial.
Okay. How regular is regular?
Like once every 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's
Amazing
regular.
facialist, by the way. I don't want to plug all of these things.
No,
but
plug.
Her name is Varani and she is...
Where?
She's in Thousand Oaks. Okay. So I drive because I'm in Eagle Rock.
Yeah.
So it's like a 45-minute drive.
Worth it.
I go on a Saturday.
She has a studio or?
She has and phenomenal. And I have never had more compliments on my skin since I started seeing, and I've done probably 5 treatments with it. Love it.
All right. I'll text you after and put the name of it so I can put it in this.
I think the regular facial has made like a difference to my texture because I've done Botox, I've done filler, but I'm too much of an anxious person. So I can't do it, right? I did filler one time.
Where'd you get it?
In my lips.
Ooh.
And I was like, I can never do it again. Also, and then I've done Botox here and then I constantly am like lifting my eyebrows because I get this, I'm like, oh my God, what if I can never move my eyebrows again? So I'm just like, I can't do it anymore.
Oh my God.
And I'm saying that now, it may change.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, you know, my secret is I think the regular facials.
All right. I'm curious if someone's watching this and they're like, okay, but all of this stuff and it's cool, but like I don't have the money and I want to start a company. Yeah. Is this the right idea? Yeah. What advice would you have for that person?
You know, I think if you can start, the most important thing is to make sure that you have something to say, right? Don't just jump on something that's already out there, right? Like there's 10,000 skincare lines, right? Unless you have a different way or something maybe that is, you know, feels a bit revolutionary or then I feel like you've got to make sure that there's the message there, right? You've got to have something on the market. Then I think start small, test it. Like with my fragrance, I gave it to all of my friends first. I then put it in one boutique, you know. But it's 2 different roads. You can either go that way or you can be like, I've got this badass idea and you go and find funding and then you do that route. Both equally wonderful and equally daring. You know, I always don't want people to think that just because you get money, it's not scary because it is. But I just think take it small. Don't sort of feel pressure to be something that you're not yet. You know, it's like one step at a time. Your story is amazing too. You've done exactly that. And I think if you can retain control early on, it's a game changer.
And you self-funded, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Did you ever take outside money?
No, I haven't. I borrowed like 25 grand from my dad when I very first started in 2007. No, 2008 when I was like thinking about it. But then it didn't really go very far as I found out we couldn't afford to do boxes. We couldn't do, I was like, also I got letterhead. Okay, I just want to point this out. This was probably the biggest mistake. I used money to get pre-printed letterhead with like a backing and my logo on the top.
Not worth it.
It's like such a 1990s move. I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
And what happened to all the inventory?
I mean, it's probably still in some like shed somewhere. But I ordered like, 1,000 or 2,000 sheets.
Oh yeah.
But it was just little things like that, I didn't realize. But
I think that's where the customer and like the product market fit. I mean, even with Chief Swag, when I started, I said everyone's going to buy pink, everyone's going to buy black, everyone's going to buy foam.
Yeah.
And white. I ordered like fucking 1,000 pink foams, and I basically have like a constant foam party every day that I'm home. No one wants the pink. I completely screwed up. I don't know why. So I like have dropped the price significantly because I'm like, I can no longer, like I could sleep on this goddamn bed of pink.
I wonder why
uncustomized
no one wants pink.
I don't know, but at
Maybe
the beginning.
Maybe it doesn't look good reflective to your face.
It's so weird, but at the beginning, all the inquiries I was getting, I think, were about pink. So I was like, this is it. But I think also with those mistakes.
You could have sold them to the Barbie people. Everything.
I know, but I think that I started it after this. It was like right then.
Okay.
But I think the mistakes, like all the time, people ask me about mistakes as an entrepreneur, and I have gotten so good at thinking, I never view anything as a mistake anymore.
No.
And it sucks if you've spent a ton of money on something, and even if you've gone into a little bit of debt, but you didn't know before, now you know.
There is no success, literally, without failure.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a 100% guarantee that you're going to make mistakes and something's going to fail. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that it's going to fail and be gone forever. No. There's this part, and all entrepreneurs, I think, as they've been doing it for longer, where you hit this kind of failure and you're like super bummed, and then there's this moment where you kind of get a little like energized and sort of excited, and you're like, okay, I know that now, and I'm going to change it and I'm going to do it better.
Yeah.
It's weird. So, if you're so scared of failure, this is not the industry for you. You should. I mean, that's what I mean. It's like who the hell wants to fail? No one really. But it's imperative.
This is also why I love what you said. If the world was full of entrepreneurs, this world wouldn't exist. And I always say that. And when people ask me, and I say I am like 1% of people are entrepreneurs or should become them, because you're so right. If everyone was a nutcase, slightly delusional, maybe not even slightly,
100%,
but that's how
dreamer, you have to.
You have to.
And you cannot do it alone.
No.
Like that's the reality. You need this incredible team. Who believe and hopefully love what your message is. Yeah, exactly, what you're doing. You've got to be able to lead people. You've got to help people believe in what you're doing, and you have to have both. It's equal parts. You just can't be a lone wolf.
No, or even just having someone to call, I think, or like a safe person, even if it's just one person.
Yeah, and in the beginning, you're going to be always doing it yourself. I have so many pictures of myself and my husband just surrounded by boxes. We did a very first order for QVC, and they ordered like
crazy
3,000 units, and this was so early on. Like it was ridiculous, and I was like, oh my god, how do we? And they were like, they had all these packaging requirements. We ended up like taping like every edge of the box. It took us like a month to make the order. It was crazy,
but he stood by you.
He was very good. Friends came over, packed.
Cute.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something about, I think when you're talking about Bethany, I'm curious as the founder, and I know that you're probably not the one who's like opening these marketing emails at this point anymore. Or perhaps you are.
No, I am.
I'm assuming you get a high amount of influencers reaching out.
We do, but it's, we have like a head of marketing that I'll forward them to, or an info line. But yeah, I see everything. Pretty much everything that comes through by Rosie Jane comes across my desk.
If you get an email from an influencer, because this is so prominent nowadays, right? All these young people, they want to have collaborations and free product or get paid to post, et cetera. Thoughts? Like, how do you do it?
I think for us, we look for, you're always looking kind of for the diamond in the rough, and for someone who's real. So when we're working with someone or looking to work with someone, they're either a true fan of By Rosie Jane, They love something that we've already done prior. And there's something about the way that they interact with their community that feels real and authentic, because otherwise it's just, we get emails that are like, oh my God, I love your makeup products. And I'm like, we don't make makeup. Right. I'm like, for me, that's just like a cut and paste.
A DM that you get or emails?
It both. We'll get like, oh, I love your products. That to me, if
Really?
you're wanting to reach out to a brand and you put your products,
That's very helpful.
There's always a product that makes you love that brand, however you discovered it. Maybe it's one and then you love everything, but be specific. That's,
Got it.
Because otherwise there's 10,000 people and, 10 billion people. But yeah, we are looking for someone that is a true fan of By Rosie Jane. And that's how we really decide to work with people.
That's very helpful. I love what you say about saying like your products.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
I'm obsessed with your products. I've used them for years, and I always want to write back, oh yeah, what product? And then, or they'll say the product name, but it's spelt wrong, or something, and I'm like, they have never used one of our products. No,
I've gotten like very sensitive to like someone messaged me on LinkedIn the other day, and they wanted advice on that, and I said send me an email. Then they send me hi Alexis, and I'm just like, I'm just like, I don't understand. You want my advice, but you can't spell my name right. Yeah, but then also there's like typos happen.
I think that it's true unless but if you're sending an email that means something to you, there are no typos. Right? Like when I'm emailing like a customer or a retail partner or someone that's really important, dude, I am not spelling something wrong. Unless it's like, maybe there's a missing comma or the it isn't, but you don't spell their names wrong. No. And now, we all have ChatGPT, so you can just
so easy
spell, grammar check. That's
so easy. Even Grammarly, like I love Grammarly.
Yeah. Okay. I am the worst speller and the worst at grammar, clearly because I dropped out of school.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
But pretty much on every email, I do a spell and grammar check.
You should. That's how to be a successful person, entrepreneur or not.
And that's what I'm assuming that the person who's asking you, this is an important, they're thinking to themselves, gosh, I hope she responds.
I didn't though, because I don't know. I felt like, I'm too busy to have to think like you're not too busy to like have written my name. I don't know.
Agreed. And by the way, that's how you sort through stuff.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If they are someone that is an absolute baller, they'll email again and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I realized I spelled your name wrong.
I test people on this. And when people follow up, I reply. But there's many times, I bet you get so many people, especially, after a Harvard or something. And I notice that, 1% of people will email, ask to be mentored, blah, blah, can I have advice? 1% follow up when I don't reply. And it's always the 1% that I say, okay, I'll mentor you, or okay, I'll get on a call.
Because they're the cream of the crop. They're the ones that
you care.
Like, you're persistent, and passion. There's that. And that's even when we're interviewing new team members or anything like that, I don't care about college, obviously, in that way. I'm not like looking to see that. I want to see the experience that they had prior, and have they done their research about the brand that they're applying to? They don't have to have loved By Rosie Jane, but maybe they saw the job come up, and then I go and we interview them, and I'm like, so do you know much about By Rosie Jane? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, this is a cross off.
Exactly.
I'm like, if you want to work for a company, at least have the time, find the time to like go and be like, oh yeah, I know you're a clean fragrance brand. I love clean beauty. I thought you were at Sephora, blah, 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 whatever it is. And that's, but.
So that's what you look for when you're hiring. Okay.
People who, have a passion for the industry that we are in. And I think people who just have a passion and are willing to do whatever. I mean, the very first job I ever got, I lied my ass off, right?
Fake it till you make it.
Yes, right? I was like, yes. Yeah. And when I first moved to LA, I was a hostess at the Ivy.
Okay.
Which is, I don't even know if it exists on Robertson.
Oh, it does.
But I was Santa Monica and Robertson. And they were like, have you been a hostess before? And I was like, oh, yes, very. And I made up all of these restaurants in Australia. And I was like, yeah, look at them. And I got my dad and my sister to be a reference. It's like you do what it takes to like get the job and then deliver. And luckily I was able to do it. But yeah.
You make it happen.
Yeah.
Rosie, what makes you fearless?
Probably my babies, my kids, my family. The support of knowing that I have this incredible family makes me think, fuck it, do it. what do you have to lose?
Nothing.
Yeah. Just
You've already like done it. You've already done it all. So now anything
it never changes. I can tell you that the way that I felt 10 years ago when I started by Rosie Jane, or 15 years ago, the same insecurities stay with you. I used to think all the time, once I hit XYZ in sales, once I do this, then I'll be like, whew, I've made it. I'll never have any self-doubt again.
How do you quiet it then?
I just think you learn to live with it. It's almost like a driving force at the same time. But yeah. And the reality is, and I'm sure you find this too, most people, especially entrepreneurs, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. No. We're just going for it. We're like, and there's any entrepreneur that you're like, how did you do what you've done? And you're like, look, it was tenacity and luck and work but like there's no playbook. So
no, there's not.
Yeah. So I think knowing that you have people supporting you is what pushes you to be fearless.
That's why they say entrepreneurs are flying the plane, learning how to fly the plane as you're flying the plane.
Yeah, or building the plane as you're flying it. Oh my God, which is 100% true.
Well, to my fellow high school dropout, thank you for starting an incredible, clean perfume brand. You are incredible.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is so lovely. I know, and you're the same. You're doing exactly the same.
Well, I want to get you guys some covers. I really appreciate you coming in. Everyone can buy Rosie Jane at
Sephora, Nordstrom, buyrosiejane.com as well.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone for tuning in to another episode of Dare to be Fearless. Head to the show notes to find out more about where to buy Rosie's product. And I hope if you got anything from this episode, it is so important that you do not give up. And if you are trying to pursue entrepreneurship and it's too painful for you, then either try again in a few years or stop, because it's really, truly not about, I think, what they say about the destination.
Or find someone to support.
Yes.
And be like, I'm going to be part of their vision and support them.
And that's how you have to do it, because also working for a startup, et cetera, can give you access to this world of craziness if you want it.
Yes.
So thank you so much again for tuning in. Head to the show notes if you want to find out more about her line. And I'll see you next week for a new episode of Dare to be Fearless.